Got an idea that keeps you up at night? Or one that makes people say, that would never work?
Perfect. That's what we talk about here on Innovation Fuel. So let's get that conversation started.
So let's welcome Stephanie Brown, the CEO of GigsUp, to another episode of Innovation Fuel. Hi, Dave. Hi, Steph.
Yes, welcome back to Innovation Fuel, where we explore real decisions behind the building ventures, organizations, and ideas that are shaping our communities. Today, we're joined by Steph Brown, the CEO of GigsUp, a platform rethinking how people access work and how organizations access talent. At a time when transitional employment models are being challenged and AI is reshaping a lot of things, including this space. Steph is building something really interesting, really exciting, and that they're right in the middle of this shift. So before we get on with our show, I want you to think about this along the way. How do you build for the future of work when the rules are still being written? Steph, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you here. You're a friend, a colleague in the world of education too. But now you've started this venture a little over a year ago, GigsUp. So how are you doing?
Yeah, thanks. I'm so excited to be here with you all, and our worlds are colliding. It's amazing. Thanks for the great intro. So I started this business a year ago, as you mentioned, but it's been sort of a 3+ year journey of researching and really understanding what is missing and really, to your point, like the world is changing so quickly. What is our opinion on where things are going, or our hypothesis on where things are going? And without spoiling or going too deep into everything, I think it all began with this understanding that what's missing in the market are tools that focus on the humans and understanding the humans. So I'll pause there and I'll say that's sort of the genesis of where we began.
So what did you find? What is the missing about humans?
So if you look at a lot of talent marketplaces out there, whether it's Indeed, LinkedIn, Workopolis, and then you look at student networks, you look at career assessments, you look at every part of the user journey, you find that there's issues along each one. So if we kind of deconstruct the user journey, we'll see like at the stage in which you're doing exploration, you're using career assessments. Well, a lot of them are actually unscientific. They're also fragmented. They're one-dimensional. Some of them look at personality, some look at interests, some look at values, but they're not doing it holistically. So that's sort of like, I guess when I say, we're not fully understanding the human, it's because we're not using the right tools to begin with when it comes to self-discovery work. So a lot of my PhD research has been focused on that and trying to identify where the gaps are. So that's one part of it. Another part of it is that as you progress through the user journey, so going from self-discovery into, say, career exploration, well, the tools that exist are also very fragmented. They're not centralizing insights on the jobs in a way that really makes your career decision-making a lot easier. We know from the data that people want to see things like their ROI on their investment for education on that job pathway, supply and demand metrics, and along with like day in the life and what skills you need and whether or not it actually aligns with who you are as a human. So we fill that gap. And then finally, once you actually start from that place, you're able to complete the user journey by actually having more personalized, customized education plans and job placements. So that becomes sort of like the output and not the starting place. We don't start from job placement and work backwards. We start with the human and follow them towards the end goal.
So can you explain, what is the product? What's the platform actually? And means we want to imagine it about what does it look like?
Yes. So our tech is essentially, think of it as is a dashboard that you log into. The very first time you log into it, depending on whether you're a high school student, a university student, or post-grad, you'll get a slightly different user experience. So if, let's say you're a high school student, you'd log in and we would ask you to either upload your transcripts or do a voice-to-text journaling exercise. And through that process, we uncover data about you as a person. We take all of that and then we match the person to career profiles and we tell them why it fits them. So all of that is all in one central dashboard. We have sort of a 3-step process of discover, match, and achieve. So the discovery is all the inputs, and the match is all the outputs of career profiles. And a lot like a dating app where you swipe left and right on matches, you do the same thing for careers. So ultimately, it gets you down to a very focused match that you then want to set as your goal. And then you proceed to the third step, which is the achieve. So in high school, your achieve would be a clear admission plan to post-secondary. So like what program, what high school subjects you need to take, what do your grades need to look like in each of those subjects? And eventually that starts to kind of, as you get into university, obviously the plan changes because you care less about obviously admission and you care more about first job placement. So that's kind of the platform and how we sort of move users through the journey within it. I don't know. I'm happy to kind of explore any of those components if that's
Just
clear.
one question before going to Dave, because so how do you, I'm going to talk about that data privacy, because you asked me to upload all my information, my transcripts, all of them. So how do you protect data privacy? Second, how you can make sure that I'm actually uploading accurate document?
Right. So for accuracy, I don't know that we have the full answer for that, but definitely for the compliance aspect, we're supported by NRC IRAB, and as part of being in their program, they support us through compliance. So we've done a pen test. There are a few things that we had to identify to create more rigor around protecting the data, and so essentially. So we do pen testing. We're also working through SOC 2 compliance. So once all of that is wrapped up, I would say we'd be able to kind of come to the table with greater confidence that yes, the tool is protecting the data. What I will say though is from day one, we do have a data privacy disclosure. We make it very clear that this data is not going to be sold on an individual level to anyone at any point in time. This is there will be aggregated data insights that are very valuable to academic institutions, which we will be packaging, but it will never be individual user data. So I don't know if that helps, or we're in basically, long story short, it takes a little time to build up the compliance, and we're on that journey in terms of making sure that we check all those boxes. Yeah.
So I want to go back to the beginning because you said there's three different stages that these individuals can enter into your ecosystem. The stage of high school, where they're, hey, I'm not quite sure what I want to do with my future.
Mhm.
They come to GigsHub. You help them sort of articulate some pathways, and so pathways would be identifying not careers, but are you also helping them identify the strategy on how they go forward to meet that career? Meaning, like what institutions they need to attend
Yes.
beyond that element.
Yeah, exactly. So if we talk about high school students, right, they kind of have two goals. They want clarity around the career they're going to build a plan against. And then they also want a more tactical plan to then reach that goal, right? So we kind of help them with both in the sense that the career matching exercise gets them the clarity on part one, what is the job that they're aiming towards? And then part two is we now tell you exactly the tactical plan to achieve that goal. So the courses you need, your grades you need to get to which programs. We've also created a system that essentially matches you to the most likely institution you would get into based on your current circumstances, and say like a plan, a goal setting to get you to say another institution that we know you might not be able to get to based on your current grades, but if you achieve certain grade targets, you increase the probability of getting in. So it sort of rank hierarchies like the institutions based on that. And then from there, it's a matter of then saying, okay, you got into the institution, and we would be in that conversation with the user and following them through their journey in post-secondary as they take courses. Because what we've also discovered is that students, as they take courses, they discover new things about themselves. It's not a one-time decision. Like making a decision on your career is not a one-time thing. So we want to keep a pulse on that and say, okay, you took physics, you hated it, that's okay. You can still stay on this pathway. Let's give you a backup plan of different courses. Or, you know what, maybe this changes the trajectory altogether and you're not interested at all in this career you thought you were interested in. Okay, what's the new plan? What do we have to do in our undergrad to like build towards a new plan? So really the thing that we're doing very differently than other tools right now is like we're trying to stay on top of the user's education journey and like capturing insights about what they're learning so that we can better direct them on career guidance.
Thank you very much. I have another question. So what is your revenue stream?
Yeah, so right now we are pre-revenue. We just launched publicly about a month ago. So through just a few campus activations, we grew to over 1,000 users. So we have a lot of data coming in, a lot of onboarding, a lot of questions, a lot of feedback. So that's just the phase that we're in. It's very normal in a startup journey, I think, to be sort of iterating and learning from the customers. Our plan, though, is we are a B2B2C play. So what that means is we expect to be generating revenue from both academic institutions and students, and maybe their parents, depending on who's paying for their subscription. And right now, we are sort of like testing out all these different strategies and channels to better understand where we're going to truly find that product market fit.
So in this case, your major client will be education institutions.
Yeah,
Right.
they're purchasing it though for different reasons than we had originally thought. So they're not purchasing it necessarily. So when we first were approached by institutions or we're doing outreach, we thought that we'd be most interested in the career guidance aspect because we know from the data that career guidance access is limited. Students have to wait long waits in high schools in Canada, and then the waits don't get any better in universities either. So the demand is high, the supply of career guidance is low. So we thought, okay, we can service this gap. But what we're finding, at least in the Canadian landscape right now, is that that's not of highest priority. What is of highest priority is understanding the data around where do students end up, what employers do they work with, what careers, what professions and what skills they're deploying to then inform their programming. So there's interest in purchasing aggregated data licensing rights to those insights. So that would be like one piece of the pie that we didn't necessarily originally like plan into or thought could exist. Um, but fundamentally for me, like who I care to service are humans. It's students. So if we can find a way to actually be profitable and service academics while making sure that the humans come first, knowing that that's probably going to be a higher, I mean, CAC right now for B2C is extremely high. So building a B2C company is nearly impossible these days. So, but again, that's like who I built this for. So trying to find that balance. Yeah.
So well, how about new immigrants? Because when newcomers come, they may lack of some skills and
Yes.
they go to so many certifications and even maybe not be very good for them. So do you have any special services for them or support?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like our tool is useful to anyone at any stage of their career. The reason why we're so focused on high school and university students, it's more so to create new habits versus breaking old habits. So we know like mid-career professionals are so used to using tools like LinkedIn. So I mean, I've had moms sign up for my platform saying they've been out of, their line of work and they're looking for new pathways. I see this being useful for many different, individuals. We've also had conversations with special abilities groups and different workforce deployment organizations. Like I think we can solve a lot of those gaps through this way of being very human centric and gathering data about the humans in a way that actually serves them.
Well, Dave, seems that you and I need to spend more money on our kids in about the career. Wise.
It's always spending more money on our kids. But it's really interesting because again, you're hitting them in multiple different stages, and I think that's really the interesting element about even if they're early stage high school, they're coming in late into this journey. They're moms that want to re-enter the workplace again. Like it's really exciting stuff on this element. But now when you look at this, your differentiator and who are the competitors that you're competing against out there?
Mhm.
How are you? Yeah.
like I mentioned earlier on this call, there's sort of 4 buckets, I would say, of competitors, right? You've got, um, call it job platforms or job marketplaces. Then you've got career assessments. Then you've got, say, like, networks. And then you've got internal marketplaces or internal platforms. And what I mean by internal are like they do a little bit more of what we're doing, but they do it in service of one organization. And so, I can like there's to be honest, like career navigation and career placement. I mean, it is a huge market. There's a lot of competitors, and then I can name probably like 20 or 30 in each of those buckets, right? It's just that if you take a step back and look at each one, there are gaps in each one, and then you also recognize that there isn't an end-to-end platform that's actually doing it from self-discovery through to placement and then tracking the person longitudinally. Like no platform is doing that. Um, and then in each one, as I mentioned, there's like gaps. So I can go deeper into each one of those, but that's kind of like the high level view of it.
So, at this stage, I understand that this is very early stage.
Mhm.
What will be or what are your strategic alliance?
Like who are our strategic partners? Yeah. Um, to do the build, we've actually had really strong partnership with BCIT. We figured out a way to actually build this out in a very affordable way through partnership with them in their capstone courses, which I always recommend entrepreneurs to explore. Is like if you've got something, especially in deep tech, that's a interesting pathway. We've had a lot of support from them, and we were able to raise non-dilutive funding through my tax because of that. And then I would say, right now, I wouldn't say we have strong partnerships yet with academic institutions beyond that. Something that I'm focusing on building. We just sort of got to a stage where I think the product was good enough to go to market with. So we're just at that inflection point where those need to be built. That being said, I have built a lot of partnerships through national accelerators, which is even though I might not be on the revenue side or, the customer side of things, it's been very instrumental, I would say, to like our build and us developing our go-to-market and distribution planning. So we've been in like five different accelerators now, and I think we're in our sixth, all serving sort of different purposes of our journey. So yeah, and then as I mentioned, there's non-dilutive partnerships, meaning like my tax, Shred, NRC IRAP. So being a part of that has been also very helpful to our growth.
That's really great. So, when you're talking about this one, so I'm wondering what is the size of your organization at this stage? How many people you're working with, and
Yeah.
how you can because talents finding
Mhm.
talents and paying them it will be
Mhm.
very hard. So,
Mhm.
how is the
So
manager?
I think as an entrepreneur at my stage, you have to get very creative. Like I mentioned, going to BCIT it's very nominal cost to build. My tax also covers 50% of my headcount, so I only have to self-fund 50% of it. There's 3 of us on the team right now, myself and 2 others. So I think, there's a funding paths outside of my tax as well to fund students or new grads, things like ITC or new venture. I forget the exact term, but there's different buckets out there. And then I would also say, I've posted jobs now twice for intern positions for the summer. In my most recent post at University of Waterloo, we received 478 applications, which to me sounds insane for a startup. So makes it really clear to me that the talent is there and that students are very like mission aligned with what we're building. And I've also had like probably about 20 people now over the last month ask me if they can volunteer or build some kind of capstone project through their school to help us. So on the one hand, there's a part of me that feels like, oh, I don't want to take advantage of people like working for me for free, but I'm also working for free. And I believe that at some point in our careers, in all careers, we do things for free to then get us to the paid situation. So a part of me is opening up, sort of figuring out what does that look like to have people who believe in our mission, who want to build some kind of portfolio or client work and do it in the most affordable way. And then hopefully we gain enough traction that we're revenue generating and then can go back to that talent and say, hey, like you were great at XYZ, like join us. That's sort of my mentality right now, or what I'm trying to figure out.
That is really great. But I think that internship, I mean, Dave and I use a lot of internships as well. It's perfect. However, the consistency of the quality as well, especially for you as a startup, can be tricky, right? So I just want to know because a lot of our audience are entrepreneurs like you. They want to learn how you can have the quality of the work.
Right. I mean, to be honest, yeah, like there's been, so we've worked with BCIT, a great example. We've had now, I think, 7 cohorts, all been assigned different features of our platform. And I think of the 7, there's probably been like 2 that were a bit of a flop. And I think I kind of just accept that. But now I've also realized like, okay, I got to put out volume. I've got to instead of doing 1 or 2 a term, next term I'm doing 4, right? And I get really clear and I keep the scope really tight. And I say, this is what we need delivered by this date and what can we reasonably accomplish in 12 weeks. And I think because I have a head of tech who is sort of like he knows everything about everything, that he can also be on top of them and understanding if they're falling out of scope or falling out of line, and having those weekly updates. So he runs all of those. I don't run them anymore. Yeah, that's been help like use. I mean, that's worked for us so far. And again, it's not like perfect, but I think it works to some degree.
Steph, I want to take this a little further because you talked about a number of assumptions that you've made along your journey,
Mhm.
and a lot of things have changed in those assumptions. And what I really want to get to the heart of is the assumptions that are changed. What's shifted from your original concept? Because I remember you and I talked about this a
Mhm.
year ago.
Mhm.
And then what barriers have you faced in order
Mhm.
to get this to market?
Mhm. I love this question, and it's something I've been thinking a lot about lately because it's kind of the friction that I'm feeling right now. And I think it's not abnormal for founders to encounter this. Number one, I thought that you can have a great idea and a good team and they'll raise money off of that. And I think the landscape has changed significantly. I think at one point in time, maybe 3, even 2 years ago, that might have still been the case, but it's definitely not the case right now. Which means, you need money to build something. I don't care what anyone says about vibe coding and, building fast and shipping fast. Even then, you need distribution, right? And distribution costs money unless you've already built a personal brand and have tens of thousands of followers. So, I think the long story short is that I underestimated how important distribution is and how costly it is. And so now I'm having to kind of pause and say, okay, how are we going to get this message and amplify it as efficiently and as economically as possible? And I will say that we are in a unique time where, yes, the market is crowded and attention is hard to get, but also there's tools out there and AI agents that you can build to really kind of elevate your, 1 or 2 people on your team to be like the equivalent of 10, right? So that's what we're building and exploring now is like, what are all these AI agents we need? Like, what are we, how are we going to build marketing content and just get awareness out there and get as many users on the platform? And that was something I hadn't originally, I think, planned into. And I've learned along the way.
So, Steph, we're thinking about the future now.
Hmm.
You're going to make some decisions.
Hmm.
And what decisions are you making today that we may be able to check back with you in a few months to see where you're at?
Hmm. Hmm. Um, so right now we're in the middle of a pre-seed raise. I would say, I've had to think through that strategy and slice and dice it so many different ways. So hopefully by the time we reconnect, we've completed our raise. That's my goal. And doing it in like trick is in the most obviously you're diluting yourself, but how do you do it by preserving the value of your company? I think that's where it's really tricky right now. And then I would say being able to have establish a self-autonomous digital marketing system that is building awareness about our existence and our offerings, I think is my like number one goal aside of from fundraising. So hopefully by then we have like we've grown our user base. Hopefully to 10,000 is ideally my goal by the end of this year.
But your platform is free right now, right?
It is, yes. It's a freemium subscription. So we have everybody who's currently joined on the premium plan for free. And the rationalization is we want people to be using it and seeing the value, and eventually we will demote them back down to the free version, and hopefully they're incentivized enough to pay the $10 a month to subscribe.
That's awesome. It's great. So, I mean, the marketing, it's going to be your biggest decision, right?
Mhm.
But I want to know about your biggest constraint.
My biggest constraint is me.
Hey, you're honest.
But I mean, yeah, so I think like I am an ideas person. I'm a researcher. Like I have clear plans, and it's just there's not enough hours in the day for me to do it all. And so that's what I mean by I'm the constraint, but I'm trying to figure out ways, I guess, to leverage technology to be able to be more efficient and tackle more of those things that I know need to get done. And I think this is like every founder's dilemma.
Well, that was great. Thank you, Steph.
I love it.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Dave. That was another episode of Innovation Fuel.
So before and Steph, before we wrap up today, how can our listeners reach you? How can they learn more about this platform? Let us know how we can connect with you.
Yeah, so our website is www.joingigsup.com. We have an Instagram handle called JoinGigsUp. We haven't posted yet. Again, we're working through all of our online content as we speak. But that should launch very soon. You can also follow GigsUp on LinkedIn. So if you look up GigsUp, you'll see our green little icon. I think it comes up first in your search. So yeah, I think, and again, join the platform. It's free. Test it, use it, give us feedback, tell us what you like, you don't like. And we want to help as many students as we can. It's sort of a two-way dialogue that we want to enter into with Canadian students.
Love it, Steph. Thank you very much. Love it.
Love it.
Yeah, to our listeners out there, if you found this insightful, please share, review it, get it out there, get our podcast out there, get Steph's story out there. What a great idea! What a great concept! Let's help her reach that 10K of users out there. Thank you very much.
Big ideas don't grow by themselves.
Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Share, and let's fuel the next one together.
Innovation Fuel is produced by JPod Creations. Find out more about the show at theinnovationfuel.ca.